Hey, Mike Kellen here. Wanted to come live on a special edition of Callahan's Corner. You asked a question, we answer them live right here on Facebook. Got Jack from Ramblin Jackson right now, and he is doing a whole lot of things along website development, SEO, and a whole lot of other things we're going to be diving into. But as normal fashion, I want to get in and get Jack over here to do some actual content, provide some value. And he's got a very special event coming up this Thursday. We're going to talk about it as well. But Jack, I know you work with a lot of the simple growth and simple estimate clients, far as around SEO, their website, and a few other things as well, I believe. So if people haven't met you or heard of it, if you don't mind kind of introducing yourself and kind of giving a little background of how you got into the green industry here.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me. My name is Jack Jostes, and I'm the CEO at Ramblin Jackson. We are the snow and landscape marketing agency. We've been around for about 14 years, and I got my start in the green industry working at a plant nursery and garden center in the Chicago area of Illinois, where I grew up. And um, I started my marketing agency. I acquired a local SEO company. That's been one of the core focuses for me from the beginning. And we were getting a lot of great results for contractors, for landscape contractors, arborists, home remodeling, HVAC. And I got hired to speak at a green industry show around 10 years ago. And at that show, I got a ton of landscape clients, garden centers, arborists, and after a while, that became 30% of our revenue. And after a couple of years, we decided to rebrand. So around 8 years ago, we went all in on the snow and landscape industry. We've had over 300 clients around the country. And I also run the Landscaper's Guide podcast, where I interview snow and landscape leaders about leadership, sales, and marketing.
Awesome. I know I've seen over the last few years the landscaper sales survey, where you dig into kind of what's going on from last year to this year, the different shifts and trends. I know one of the big things that myself personally, I love to look at a lot of non-emotional data in the industry and where the industry is at and where they're going. Very similar to Wayne Gretzky's hockey analogy. He wanted to be where the puck's going to be and not where it actually currently is. So I know you've been really attuned to where the market's going and the different things. But really, as you're diving in, I know there's a few things that you touched on before the show that you're seeing are major differences from 2022 to 2023 and now shifting into 2024. But one of the most notable things is, what's the difference between social right now as driving traffic versus SEO in our lawn care and snow removal companies that you're seeing based on some of the work?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I realized that no one in the industry is currently benchmarking sales and marketing data for the industry. So there are a lot of great industry surveys that come out, and they usually have like one question around marketing, and it's usually like, how much are you spending, or something like that. So I wanted to take it a step further and break this out by region. What's working in the Northeast? How is that different from what's working in the Southeast? What's happening in Central, and how is that different from the West? So last year we had 165 people take the snow and landscape sales survey, and we got some really great information. And then this year we've had over 200, and I literally just got the results yesterday, and I'm finalizing my analysis of it to present on Thursday. So that's one of the fun things is we have our Landscaper Summit this Thursday. It's a virtual conference, and I'm going to be doing a whole presentation on this. But one of the things that stood out to me right away was one of the question was, we ask which marketing works best for you. And last year it was social media was the top driver of which marketing works best for you. And this year it's search engine optimization, SEO. So I'm seeing, and I've looked at this, the size of the companies, the revenue that they make is comparable. There's no major difference in like who took the survey. We just have more people, but I'm seeing that search engine optimization is a better driver of lead generation for snow and landscape companies in 2023, and I see that continuing into 2024. One of the reasons that I think that may be is that I'm seeing an overall decrease in demand for landscape services this year compared to 2020, 2021, 2022. So we're a few years. Can you believe that COVID started like 4 years ago. So it was weird, right? And that I feel like artificially stimulated demand for landscaping. And in some ways, people were seeing landscaping on social media and responding to it. I think money was easier to borrow at that time. And a lot of people just simply bought landscaping sooner than they would. And now we're kind of back into pre-pandemic where, people are searching for it when they need it. And maybe they're not as influenced by social media to buy it. That's my hunch on what's going on, but what the data, that's my interpretation of it based on kind of conversations with clients and people at trade shows. But what I'm seeing is again, last year social media was the top driver. This year SEO is the top.
Interesting. And I don't think I disagree with you by any means. We just got back from a conference, or actually two conferences, Expo and Landscape Summit, not to be confused with the Landscapers Summit that you're hosting. But Jim Houston, one of the top financial analysts or folks in the green industry, actually gave a keynote, and he actually talked and forecasted the same exact thing that you're talking about from the data that he was looking at. In addition, I literally not even planned this. I got Lawn and Landscape State of the Industry. So like you said, great publication. I write into it more than occasionally, but not a lot of data in here around what you're talking about, Jack. So, but in here, if you did read it, you take a look at it inside the publication, they are actually forecasting very similar results based on their data. So I think that correlation between Jim Houston, who is the original gangster of finances, lives out a little bit up by you out west, and Lawn and Landscape, who had probably well over 1,000 people that responded. It's interesting that you are confirming the perspective of two other private individuals sources that industry is starting to slow down. They're seeing maintenance is starting to go up as well, but we're seeing a lot of influx as well, just in the social area, because a lot of these businesses are starting to become a little more educated. So they're pumping out a lot of more social content. They're pumping out paid on the social platforms. But like you said, when somebody's ready to buy, they're going into Google with the SEO and trying to find you. So totally in alignment there. So we kind of talked about the SEO versus social role there and how that's playing. But I'm assuming through there, just like Lawn and Landscape Magazine, your survey was really going in. What are these challenges going into 2024 that the lawn care, landscape, and snow removal companies are doing now?
Yeah, so one of the things that is consistent between the 2 years, but also has changed a little bit. So last year, 43% of respondents said that recruiting employees was their top challenge. So that was 43%. It's still the biggest at 37%, but what has doubled is generating the right quality leads. So last year it was 17%. Now it's 33% are saying that generating leads is their biggest issue. So that's a significant increase from 17 to 33% just in a year. So I again, my sense is that the market for landscape services was overstimulated by a number of things. Largely, though, the shift to working from home for many people, a lot of, and that's impacting commercial people who are doing, class A real estate landscape management. I'm hearing those a lot of those businesses are really suffering because many people still haven't returned back to the office and they've shifted to working from home. I think that a lot of people spent more time at home than ever and invested in their yards. And my hunch is that there's less market, meaning that the people who were going to buy landscaping in 2024, 2024, 25, maybe they're going to put it off. Maybe their buying was accelerated into 2020 through 2022, and there's just fewer customers. And also there's a lot of economic challenges with inflation, with interest rates, with all different kinds of things. What do you think? I mean, what's your sense of, is the market for landscape services down? Is that what you're saying that Jim Houston was saying also? Or
Yes, as we're going, there's a couple things that I'm thinking about. It's funny you mentioned that too. So I think I've got it at my desk here, but I don't not readily available. But what I was going to pull out is actually the proposal. So right during COVID, I went out and bought and was Kyle Stevens from Stonewood and Waters, national contractor that does design,
Mhm.
build designs for all over the whole United States. Kyle, luckily enough, is a local guy, but Kyle came in. I said, "Hey, Kyle, working from home, kind of got this COVID thing going on. Um, I want the front of the house cleaned up, and we've got a pool in the back. So I wanted to kind of get some things built out. But Kyle, being the salesman he is, gave me a 3D design, not only for the front of the house with the paver walkway, the softscape, replacing the fence, and like a pergola with the patio area. But in the back on the other side of the pool, he goes, this will be phase 3 that I didn't ask for. He goes, I'm going to get you the pool house. We're going to throw in the fire pit. I'll run the lines and get you a deal. And by the way, if you want to do all 3 phases, we'll do it. So originally, as a consumer, not necessarily an industry consultant, I had in mind of doing 2 phases. Kyle came in at phase 3, and we had a couple good years with profit distributions in the company, so I had the money in the bank. But as a consumer, I'm like, well, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be stuck at home during this COVID thing, not knowing how long it's going to last. I'm like, I might as well enjoy it. So I will tell you, from the consumer side, I probably spent an extra $70,000, $80,000, probably more than that, minimal,
Mhm.
up and above the original job for the same things you're talking about. So I can tell you on the contractor side, yes, I think we sold or outsold some capacity in there. Money was a lot quicker, especially with payroll protection and different things that we're going through. And then the consumer is ready to buy. But what Jim Houston was saying, and I completely agree, is the hardscaping right now, if that's what we're talking about, is probably on a decline as far as demand. In addition, that was kind of outsold the capacity, but in addition, we're seeing that people are tightening up. And I don't know if it's maybe aging myself, but in 2008, that recession we had, my lawn care company, that was the best year we ever had. But everybody that was doing design, build, and construction projects like literally dried up. So if we're rolling into another 2008 recession type thing, which a lot of people are projecting, um, the contractors right now, at least with maintenance, that are creating that cash war chest, that are going to have the ability to double down while everybody else contracts, in my opinion, is going to win. Design build, if it's similar to 2008, you're going to see those project based companies shifting hard into maintenance, and it's going to be
Mhm.
competitive, if not more, depending on who actually learns from 2008 and has that cash war chest. But that was something I learned from Jonathan Potoshnik, of the Lawn Care Millionaire, co-founder, Service Autopilot. I was able to meet him prior to 2008. He said, Mike, you never know when these black swan events come up, or recession. You need to have at least 2 to 3 months worth of revenue to support the business if everything went out. But in addition, you need to be able to have a good chunk of cash to double in when everybody else contracts. And that has saved us twice now. We've had that during COVID in 2008. And in my personal opinion, there's a good chance, after talking to the industry experts in the last few weeks, that if that happens, a lot of these businesses are not ready to handle that. And curious, Jack, as you're looking at this, I know you were talking a lot
Mhm.
about construction. Do you specialize, or do you have data across both industries? Is it more maintenance, design, build? Even like as you're working with these companies, what is kind of that sweet spot that you work with, kind of this perspective, as we're talking about definitely design build part. We could, on the flip side, have a huge upswing for maintenance companies to double down for their SEO and paid advertising.
Yeah. Well, so as far as this survey goes, um, 69% of the people offer landscape maintenance. So the vast majority are already offering maintenance. And then as far as my own clients go, it's probably about that. I have some clients who are design build only, and I have very few who are maintenance only. Most of the people I work with, I'd say, are full service, meaning they're doing some level of installation, construction, and then also maintenance. Some of them also have commercial as part of their mix. And yeah, maintenance is suddenly becoming very sexy again. Whereas, in previous years during, the COVID boom, it was all about design, build, hardscape, construction. And I think that work is still happening. I have a client who's been in business for over 30 years, and he's very good at sales, which is important here because I have some clients who are not very good at sales and they don't know. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
this guy's he's good at sales, he's good at business, he knows his numbers, and he's saying that he's still booked out. They're booked out several months. His pipeline is good, but they're as much as 50% smaller budgets than they were in the past few years. So for him, they're going from $150,000 projects to 75 or the $100,000 projects. He's now kind of back into that $50,000 to $70,000 range, whereas there was a good 3-year streak where it was $100,000 plus.
So very, very similar to Jason Cupp's another really big industry financial consultant. I've been talking to Jason Cupp a lot. Obviously, Jim Houston there last week. But very interesting you said that, because you guys must have talked to each other, but didn't talk to each other, because what they're seeing with their client base is there's a lot of guys that are really good with sales. They've kind of extended that sales pipeline into next year, but the stuff that's going into next year is not big dollar value. So like, you are literally carbon copy of what I've been hearing on the street in the industry. And then some of those folks that really haven't figured out the sales game, that's where it gets scary, because traditionally those folks are looking at, really, we call that about a stage 3 business bottleneck or hurdle, but sales, you got to fix that. And whether you're doing, and I talked about that at Mike Gandy's event for the summit, but literally you do a lot of sales, you do a lot of work, and there's this kind of teeter-totter effect. That's the folks that are going to get in trouble. We really need to be able to go in and drive consistent SEO, consistent lead acquisition, and be
Right.
able to really track those marketing things that you're driving with those services you're talking about.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're hearing this from some of the other people in the industry. I've talked to Jason Cupp, but not in a while. And this is just, I run a mastermind for my top clients where people are pretty open book about what's going on and what they're seeing, and that's the trend. I am seeing it worse off in the Northeast and the Midwest than I am in Colorado and in the Southeast and in Texas. So in the Southeast, I don't know, a lot of guys are still doing great. It seems to have really slowed down in the Northeast and in the, Upper East Midwest.
Yep. And I think we service a lot of the same clients without mentioning their names. I'm seeing the same thing with the overlap. One thing in upstate New York too, which is actually a telltale sign, and this is kind of how it happened in 2008 as well, is we don't usually get, at least in my area, we don't get hit as hard. We don't see the lows and the highs as much. It's kind of, we see it, but it's not as extreme. This is very similar to what happened going into 2008 in upstate New York with that. Things started to slow down. Things were still booming in the other areas. And then when it hit really hard, we felt it, but it wasn't as a big of his impact. So I guess really didn't think about it till you started talking about it. But if that's a telltale sign, this is really something that folks would want to dive in on Thursday with you. Understand the research, understand the data, and like, how are we going to actually go out and outmaneuver our competition? And I think that was the key for me in 2008. We were aware what was going on. We had a game plan. We had a marketing plan. We had a budget. We were really particular. We were going to do offline marketing and digital marketing and go in. And at that point, digital marketing wasn't as popular, but really we were casting that digital net across the whole entire service area. And then we did offline marketing actually to build route density through every door, direct mailing, send Jim, a couple other things. But that ability to use
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you mentioned offline marketing, because I really strongly recommend a combination of online and offline marketing. And I believe that when you're in a lower market, you're actually going to need to spend more money on marketing. So I've got bad news for you, in the sense that in an up market, in a COVID boom market, you're kind of just like reacting to this demand, and you may need to do less marketing. But when the market is a little lower, I love everyday direct mail. Postcards. You can target the zip codes where you want route density. You can give your people postcards to pass out. You may need to market more aggressively. And a key thing that I ask every client is, what can your client say yes to now in this market? And has that changed from what they would say yes to 3 years ago? As an example, I had a client in Dallas, Texas, where in 2021, there was plant Mageddon. There was this freeze that literally came and killed all the plants. Texas started importing plants from Florida, and it was just like demand up the wazoo. And we literally put stuff on his website like, we can't even reply to you within a week. Because that was the truth. I'm like, are you sure you need a whole week? And he's like, I am so drowning in